Alright, we're going to be putting the DC 12 volt system in the van today. Okay, so vehicles run off 12 volt DC electricity, so that naturally is the heart and soul of the van build. So I put my DC system on this side. I'm going to kind of give you the rundown of really what all I did here. Some of this has to be done in stages based on other things happening in the build out, and so not all of it will be completed until the final finishing is done. But for the most part, I got the system installed, lights running, a lot of the outlets and ports mounted, and everything is functioning. So that's kind of the big first step. Let me show you what I got. So the battery bank is obviously the first most important part. I'm running 300 amp hour AGMs. Of course, they're fused, and then they're running to a master shutoff switch right here. So I did put in cabinet lighting. That's off of an auxiliary switch in the switch panel, and that allows me to see what's going on here in case I need to switch fuses, flip breakers, anything like that. I have a smart controller MPPT for the solar. This is drawing in off of the panels on the roof and then supplying the bus bars which go out to the batteries. So that's method 1 of charging. Method 2 is the shore port with the inverter charger below, which we covered in a previous video. Then I have a DC to DC charger. This is a Renogy. This takes the residual from my smart alternator, which is running the 2 batteries from the front of the van, and applies any residual back here to charge while I'm driving. Eventually I will have a dedicated second alternator that will also charge this system. And then there's a Blue Sea fuse panel here with all the different fuses going out to each circuit. So the entire water tank side of the van is on the 12 volt system. Basically the water heater and water pump are 12 volt. Behind this I have the water tank. This has thermostatically controlled water heating pads. Basically, it just keeps the tank from freezing if it's sitting idle in a cold environment. And then I have this little hidden panel here. This allows me to have a 12 volt port and USB 3.0 ports in the cabinet so I can charge devices as needed while I'm going down the road, just like the other cabinets. And then I have the fridge switch, water pump, and water heater switches tastefully hidden in a place that I can actually access from the standing position in the kitchen, but it allows me to turn those devices off if they're not going to be needed for specific adventures so that I don't have a parasitic draw on the system. I mentioned the ports in the cabinets. That's the same thing here. There will be an upper cabinet that runs the full length. So in the front and rear, I have put these ports in. There's 12 volt. There's also a USB 3.0 and USB 3.0 with power delivery. Converting from 12 volt to 120 volt AC and back to 12 volt DC is a lot of energy loss and very inefficient, so I try to keep as much 12 volt as I possibly can. So most of my appliances and things like that, I'm trying to stick with 12 volt. So right now I have my interior lighting on 12 volt. I'm also going to do mood lighting on 12 volt. I have those in-cabinet lights that we talked about on 12 volt. And then this one here is my WeBoost cell phone booster that is also 12 volt as well. And then this is the thermostat for the heater. Once this cabinet is in, there'll be a panel, and these will actually be on the outside of the panel. The max fan is also 12 volt, and it is powered right now. So there we go. We have intake and exhaust. Makes a nice little skylight too. With the electrical systems active, I'm about done with the functional portions of this build and on to the finishing work, so stay tuned.